Hi everybody. Today I am with you on the context of organization for the implementation of ISO 30401 Knowledge Management System Requirement Standard. I am Khwaja Asif Mushtaq, Director Accredited Quality Solutions Pakistan, member ISO 30401 Standard Development Team, ISO TC 260 Geneva, and I am an active member of Knowledge Management Global Network. This is just an overview of the standard. About the knowledge management. Knowledge management has been with us since the end of the 20th century. So it is not much older discipline, and the first time was used in a term form by Peter Drucker, and there is a great contribution from Nunaka on this discipline. Understanding the organization and its context, it is important that each organization is unique and needs to identify what it plans to address and achieve. This all comes from the organization purpose of existence. When any organization or entity is being established, organization can no longer rely on the spontaneous diffusion of knowledge to keep up with the pace of change. Instead, knowledge must be deliberately created, consolidated, applied, and reused faster than the rate of change. Otherwise, change shall change the organization if it does not change before the change occurs. Critical knowledge is often silent or retained by experts at the risk of being lost. When the organization changes or these experts leave, then what happens with the organizations? We are the witness of down and fall of the many organizations. Leaders leave, organization goes down. Effective knowledge management is also supporting in collaboration between different organizations to achieve shared objectives. So it's an umbrella of all the activities which contribute in development of knowledge economy. And shared objectives are the purpose of existence of any organization or institution to serve the society, to serve a specific segment of the society. They will collectively help the society to learn, to be served with the desired purpose. Context is actually a navigating. It's a navigation of social, economic, environmental, regulatory, legal, financial, technological, and political aspects. These are all the forces who affects the organizations, and they are changing continuously. So there is a need to have a navigation with respect to the direction of change to align the organizational context. Organizational context is important in the determination of attitudes and behaviors. The organization shall determine external and internal issues that are relevant to its purpose and that affect its ability to achieve the intended results of its knowledge management system. ISO Annexure SL newly class addresses the context of organization in all ISO requirement standards. And here in ISO 30401 standard, it desires that each organization should understand the organization context in its own KMS requirements. And this annexure was introduced in 2015 in all requirement standards. And this context is identical to each organization. Identification of KMS via navigation of its context shall brings value to the organization. Context of the organization is a life cyclic process. The definition of context of any organization begins with PEST. PEST, P stand for political, E for economical, S for social, and T for technological factors analysis, which will provide inputs that will provide a strength, identification of weakness, opportunity for our organization, and any threats to the organization. So the identification of these factors shall define internal and external issues. What are the internal issues. Internal issues are those which internally affect the organization performance, its culture, and how they are identified. They can be identified through their vision, mission, values, and cultures. The other way could be to formulate a matrix setting form and have a plenty of interviews with the key staff members to identify the forces, liking and disliking, and behavioral aspects, technological effects, which affect internally on the employees' interaction and the organizational needs. So by doing this, we can form a report format that may be used in a good reference to support the present and future business strategy as well. Then about the external issues: cultural, social, economical, political, legal, natural, competitive factors, where international or local or regional competitiveness can impact the organizational performance. External issues may change the organizational internal process as well, and if the internal process changes, then there may be a need for identification of internal issues again by interviewing, so that are interdependent on each other. The determination of the internal and external issues will help in identification of the interested relevant parties. Internal issues affect the internal employees, might be the end users, customers. External issues directly affect on the organizational processes, organizational stakeholders like their employees, their owners, their technological and their procedural mechanism. So interested parties relevance to the organization also help in identification and formation of knowledge management system. Depending on the organization, there will be an array of interested parties that are important success of organization. Next, determination and how to determine the scope of the knowledge management system. When we have identification of interested parties, these interested parties requirements help us in identification of scope of KMS, and that scope of KMS should be in written documented form, that it must be followed if we have a identical documented KMS scope, and that scope will help us in the development and outlining in detailization of knowledge management system. And about the knowledge management system, my other fellows shall be helpful to you for more detailed understanding of the knowledge management system. And when we have a knowledge management system in context, then there is a knowledge management culture. Knowledge management system shall develop a culture where every effort shall be directed toward organizational objectives. A culture where connection and knowledge activities are encouraged and knowledge is valued and actively used will support the establishment and application of the knowledge management system within the organization. The organization shall demonstrate the organizational culture has been addressed as a means to support the knowledge management system. Means that each and every process must be integrated with the knowledge management system. Then we may get intended outcome of the KMS to the organizational objectives in contribution of values and to keep up alive pace of change to have the ultimate objective achievement. For that all aspects, we need to monitor the changes and the factors that affect the organization, and that comes by monitoring and reviewing of whole the process, and context changes over time. Things that are not important today but eventually becomes important tomorrow. Regular review and monitoring of the whole process shall keep up the organizational context in alive to meet the requirements of the organizational KM objectives. So that's all about the context of the organizational life cycle, and I'm sure other video lectures shall help you in the implementation of the knowledge management system in your organization. It's a knowledge sharing activity, and obviously by sharing we shall have a shared knowledge based economy that will develop a tomorrow which will help us prosperity toward the globalization. Thank you very much.